we'll swiftly move to our next speaker. The next speaker is a guy that I occasionally see in the office, but actually works with me. He's a global PERS technical manager for Boehringer Ingelheim. PH or Poul Rathkjen is a veterinarian with broad experience in the field, and we are very fortunate to have him supporting PERS around the world, sharing his practical and experience around PERS control. Today he's going to share with you some tools, or a tool called Combat, that is designed and available to you to help you with the control of biosecurity on your farms. So, Poul, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Combat. It's an abbreviation for Comprehensive Online Management Biosecurity Assessment Tool. So easy to remember. All of you practitioners here, you know that higher biosecurity and ideal management, it's a constant battle. In Germany, they would probably say, Ordnung ist kein Zustand, sondern ein Kampf. And we also know that there's a lot of parts to having a high biosecurity and ideal management. Of course, internal and external biosecurity is very important. We also know that if you're in a location where farms are very close, as we heard from Johannes before, if there's only a few meters in between, it's very difficult to control PERS. Semen source is a constant risk, and we hear again and again of farms that break because they buy semen that was PERS positive. Gilt replacement is extremely important. Pig flow, and Oliver told us that people are the most important. So all of these parts, they are part of the battle against PERS. So Combat is developed to help to analyze and then visualize, and after that benchmark, and in the end also guide to improve the biosecurity and management in pig farms. And it's available to you now, so if you open your smartphone or your iPad, you can go into App Store, you can scan this QR code, you can download it, you can go to Google Play, you can download it there, and it's also available in the Chinese App Store. And it's also available in different languages already. So if you prefer it in whatever, English, Chinese, Belgium, Netherlands, French, Spanish, you can have it in your own language. So if you download it now, you just decide on the language you want, and you will have the questionnaire ready to understand. And this is how it looks like when you open the app. So if you already have it logged in, then it's probably because you already downloaded the tool a while ago, and then you need to refresh it to get it in the different languages. If you open it now, you get it in the right language. And then you can register, and you will have your own unique username and password, so only you can see it. Well, the Combat, it's an important part of the 5-step process. We mentioned the 5-step process last year, and I want to mention again that it's very important to have a systematic approach to PERS control. And the first step is to decide and identify your goals. Then you need to know what's going on the farm, so the current status has to be determined by using the appropriate diagnostics and monitoring tools. And then you need to understand the constraints. And with those 3 steps in place, you are able to develop solutions, and then finally you want to monitor it. We have placed combat as a supportive tool to step 3, to understand the constraints that you have to biosecurity, management, and pig flow. And when these constraints has been identified and the high-risk areas has been recognized, then you are able to set up a training program that addresses the needs you have to improve the limitations you have in your production system. And then you should use all the current knowledge. So Johannes told us we know what to do with PRRS. We're not completely blank. It's just to apply the knowledge we have. Of course, we can improve our vaccines. Maybe we can improve other tools. But basically, we know what to do with PRRS to control it. So what is combat? Combat is 55 detailed questions that you can answer directly in this app tool. And then the relative risk of not being able to prevent, control, or manage PRRS infection is calculated in 4 different categories. So there's 15 questions related to internal risk, 20 questions related to external risk, 7 questions related to location, and then 13 questions related to management and pig flow. And these questions are all related to the 10 management rules that Johannes just went through at the end of his presentation. Not all the risks are weighted equally. Some have a higher risk and have a higher rank than others, but the weights are calculated. They are based on publications and also previous risk assessments done by BI veterinarians and also from colleagues from US that are present in the audience here. So it's a very sound basis of the combat risk evaluation. So when you have finalized the questionnaire, you will have a visualization of your answers and the risk evaluation in this 4-dimensional circle chart. So you see here on the x-axis, you see the plot of the internal risk score. On the y-axis, the plot of the external risk score. And then we have a circle, a colored circle, and these are related to the location of the farm. So if you are in a very high-risk location, you are close to a neighboring farm with a high risk of getting a PRRS infection, you will have a red circle. And then we have put the size of this circle as it's the visualization of the management risks. And if you have a large circle, it means that you have a high risk management. And we put the management as the most visual part, so the size of this circle, because we feel that that's actually the most important. It doesn't help you a lot if you are able to prevent PRRS coming from outside, if you are not able to prevent it inside or the going on inside your farm. So this is very important. And it's also obvious that if you are located in a very high-risk area, so you have a red circle, it's even more important than you have an optimal management and pig flow. So as you all know, size matters. In this case, big is beautiful, but small is better. Not only are you able to benchmark against your own farms, you can also benchmark against other projects you have. That's the first example. Or you can benchmark against all the data that has been put into the system globally. There will be more and more, so that's what you see here. And then you maybe see a small red star here. That is the average of all the combats that has been done globally. In this case, we have some farms, at least, that are doing a slight better than the average. Let's try a combat. Very nice farm. It's actually Danish. Looks very nice from the outside, but let's move a bit closer. And here we will look at the external biosecurity. Still look pretty nice, but now you start to see some details that you didn't know about before. And when we come closer, this is a feeding truck. Now it certainly doesn't look that nice anymore. Oh, this guy has a truck wash. Maybe not the best, but there's a truck wash. So now we have some questions related to that. So here are some questions. What are the flow restrictions on vehicles used to transport animals to market or collection points? And in this case, we say that the same vehicle is used to move first positive and negative and naive animals, but there is a minimum downtime at least. There's also a washing frequency, and this guy is washing between every load of pigs. And we ask about the drying time, and for this there's no requirement to dry vehicle. This is an example of some questions. So these are the questions, and then you can, after that, you can go to the details and look at the feedback. And here we look at some of the high-risk answers. So in this case, the answer was that no disinfectant were used or it was unknown. And to get the optimal answer, you should use disinfectants. And it would also be an improvement if you have assistant drying technology. So this is an example of the feedback on the high-risk answers. We also have some, so very high risk, and this is some examples of the high risks. Here's the washing frequency. So you said at least every 20 loads, but it could be every load. Location of pickup site for dead animals, and you said it was in that farm, and it would be good to have far away from the farm the pigs would to pick up. Some answers that gave you a low risk. The same vehicles never delivers feed to PRRS positive, negative, and naive farms. So even if it was a bit dirty, at least it doesn't go to farms that are negative. Here's a question related to the perimeter fence. And it seems like there is, at least on some buildings, surrounded by a perimeter fence. But we have a wild boar just outside here and actually found a hole in the fence. So we have a high risk here. All buildings should be surrounded by a perimeter fence. Entrance of people. So the answer was here that downtime required for visitors, they require no downtime. So they can just get in the same day in different farms. But the optimal answer would be that you have more than 24 hours or at least 2 nights downtime. And you can also have direct access, so there's no defined dirty and clean area. And there should be physical barriers separate to the outside and internal clean areas of the farm. Semen is very important. We heard that already. And in this case, the semen are sourced from outside, and it even comes from a positive active with evidence of active shedding of virus, or it's unknown. And here the definition, so when we, in all the cases where we have an unknown status in a farm, it's considered as being PRRS positive. So we consider, if you have a neighboring farm where the status is unknown, you will always consider it with a high risk and act as if it was PRRS positive. So you have a feedback here, sourced from outside, and This is not related. You see, there's different answers. But this is just examples. Let's have a look at some questions related to the management. This is a chart borrowed from Flemming Torp from the Danish Pig Research Center, describing how to create a two-step nurse sow. We have more and more live piglets delivered, and we have such a high number that not all piglets can stay with their mother. So there would always be a surplus of pigs that we have to move to other sows. And the way we do that is that we have an in-between sow. We wean with piglets that are at least 21 days old, and these pigs go directly to the nursery. They don't stay in the farrowing room. And this sow is getting 7 days old pigs, and the sow then gets the newly weaned, the newborn pigs. This is how to do it. So we have some questions here related to cross-fostering. Cross-fostering, in this case, pigs from different litters are commingled, they're mixed with other age groups, and moved to different rooms. Cross-fostering takes place less than 72 hours. Of course, this is a high risk that pigs from different litters are commingled and mixed with other age groups. The best one would be no cross-fostering, but you will also have a very good score if you have cross-fostering less than 36 hours. You saw this picture already from Johannes Dahl, and we also have some questions related to weaned pigs in the farrowing room. And in this case, sometimes weaned pigs without a sow are left in the farrowing room. And you see, this is a very high risk. Continuous flow, yes, and this is also a very high risk. The optimal answer would be that all batches are kept intact from farrowing to slaughter without any mixing in between. Internal risks, an example here. So after this room has been emptied, it's washed and then disinfected and dried out. Very good. Let's see how it looks like. It looks very good. And he also gets a very low risk on this one. He actually did exactly what he should. Load out areas. In this case, no restrictions on the truck driver access, and it should be unattached to the animal transfer station located away from the farm. Dead pigs. And then finally here we see a very nice location of a farm. So this had a very low risk score on the location. Actually, there's no farms in the distance of 5 kilometers from this farm. So a very nice location, and it would have a green circle in the scoring chart. So when you do the combat, you have an immediate feedback according to the risk category, and that helps you to discuss with the farmers the risky behaviors they have. And then, when looking at the very high risk scores or the high risk scores, you are able to prioritize the fields of importance. And then you can get guide on the improvements, and you are able to set up training programs that can address the high risk areas. And for all of you that is close to the pig farming and the pest control, this is your chance to show knowledge and knowledge leadership in pest control. So combat is facilitating improved biosecurity and pig flow and management practices by highlighting the most important areas related to pest incidents. And it also helped to reduce the risk of new virus introduction and improve the ability to control pests on farms and sites. And you have an anonymized visual benchmark that helps the producers to address the risky behaviors that affects the disease resilience on the actual production sites. But the final remark here is that the difference between success and failure in the risk reduction in relation to both biosecurity and management, they're not determined by the details in a scoring report. It's important to say, the Excel sheet doesn't make the job for you. So the improvements, they are only seen when the constraints are understood, and then when you correct the mistakes and the risky behaviors. I hope you like the tool. You can download it now if you want, or listen to some of the speakers and then download it later. I hope you find it attractive. Thank you very much.